We'll be taking a look at her video. Bidemi Mark Modi is a seasoned equiper in the body of Christ who has spent the last 2 decades in ministry teaching on common wisdom from God's word with life application tools through her mentoring schools, Purpose University, prophetic teachings, and books. She is the apostolic lead for the Well Oasis International, which has its headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. She has led over 170,000 individuals to praise, pray, and prophesy kingdom realities for living through her daily live broadcast, Commanding Your Morning, which has aired over 1,800 episodes since inception in 2017. Bidemi is a member of the John C. Maxwell Founders Circle coaching team. As a trainer, she offers workshops, seminars, keynote speeches, and coaching services, aiding personal and professional growth through the practical application of leadership principles. Please give a round of applause for our next speaker, Mrs. Bidemi Mark Modi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me at the New Summit 2022. It's an absolute pleasure to have been asked to speak. I wish I was there in person, but I know that this is just the beginning of a great relationship. So if, as God wills, maybe next year or the year after, as long as I have enough notice, I'll be there in person, not necessarily to speak, but just to support what is happening at New. So this summit, I've been asked to speak on the topic Excelling Open Doors of Opportunity, Steps to Discovery. My articulation of this topic is that we have gone through, and all of the world indeed has gone through a change, drastic change in how business was done hitherto. We have gone through a lot of things, and everyone came out on the other side. Some of us gasping for air and wondering what just happened, and the rest of us who are a bit more resilient, wondering what is the next thing that I need to do. So today I want to speak to us about the concept of the future of work. How does work look like, or business look like, after all the change that we've been through? And just let me put it out there, the change has not ended yet. As the year is 2022 is coming to an end and we're rolling into a new year 2023, things are even going to be even more different. A lot of things are going to be different. How we do business is changed forever. And I want us to understand that when we can grasp the fact that these things have changed and we adapt rather than try to just remain rigid or call up and die, then we have a great opportunity ahead of us. Because some people have looked at what has happened and their mindset is something has changed. And because of that, some people say they no longer have a playing opportunity. Others have looked at it and they're saying something has changed, yes, but I can adapt to whatever is changed and I can bring new learning to the table. And so the undergird for self-discovery in a climate that has changed, or an ever-changing climate, in the capacity to recognize and maximize opportunity within that change is that people have to be adaptable. So no matter what your business terrain was like and the dynamics of your business were like, and your lives and your families were like in the previous, what I'll call the previous dispensation, there is an openness that we need to have to adapt. A lot of us are in the business of adoption. That's why our businesses don't work. And let me explain what that means. Adoption means you take something and you just take the system, the dynamics, the processes, hook, line, and sinker, and you plug it on what you're already doing. But this is a very dynamic terrain we now are in. So adoption will not work. Adaptation is what will work. But I go ahead of myself. So let me come back and talk to you about the concept of what business looks like. Whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, the dynamics of how work used to be done have evolved. Things are changed. There are words such as agility, adaptability that are now being used in work conversations. We now have hybrid workspaces. We have totally virtual spaces, and things are no longer what they used to be. This week, I was in a conversation with my coach, and I was just discussing the things that I wanted to achieve in the next year. And I said to her, oh, one of my staff has a change in her circumstances, and that's going to impact upon what I'm doing. And as we were talking, we spoke to her about 1 hour, 30 minutes, I don't remember. She just said to me, you need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. And half of what I thought was going to be a challenge, she resolved in just pointing me in the right direction of virtual assistants. Not that I didn't know about virtual assistants, but the way she broke down the processes for me helped me arrive at a conclusion that rather than be afraid that because one of my key pillar in the workforce is going to have to shift a bit because her circumstances are different in the moment. And so I was thinking, oh my God, how would that impact on what I was supposed to be doing? I realized that I could actually do it better if I just opened myself to new experiences. So the first thing I want to highlight to all of us today is that we are not, you are not on the verge of a collapse. You have not been disappointed. What has happened is God has given you the opportunity of brand new experiences. God is opening vistas to us so that you can actually sit in Lagos and have a staff who lives in the Philippines, and your work will be done. You can actually sit in Lagos and not carry inventory and yet be run transactions running to millions of naira because you have people who have inventory and you become the broker for those things. And you get a commission, you make money, and you move on. The point I'm making is that if you approach these dynamics with the mindset that you've not been disappointed, but that you have been given the chance of a brand new experience, the odds are you would excel in what is ahead of you in the next climate. A while ago, I was in a human resource conference. One of my sisters was hosting this conference, and I actually really just went to support her. But because I'm someone who is always learning, as I sat there, I didn't even bring a notepad that day, and they didn't share any. But I sat at this table, and they started to talk about the future of work. As I listened to them talk about the future of work, I picked up a napkin and I put it on my table, and I picked up a pen and I started to write, because I realized immediately, this was pre the pandemic. I realized immediately that something was about to shift, and the way we did life and business was about to change. And as I sat there, I wrote down 7 or 8 things, I think, that became the table of content for a book I have there called The Theology of Work. Because as I sat there and I heard them start to talk about how work is changing, how the millennials see work, how the Gen Zs see work, I realized that while they were focused on generations, it was an entire climate shift that was coming to how business was done. And so as I was listening, I could tell that some people were becoming agitated, because if work is changing, how do they catch up? And I realized that the key was to know what God taught about how work ought to be done. And by the time I broke it down, I realized that no matter what shifted, God, the processes and the templates that God is giving us are constant. They do not shift. So what that means is, no matter what is changing for you, an embrace means that you are able to go back to the design room. Go back to your design room and ask yourself, what else can I do to ensure that this change that has come upon me is managed properly? A couple of weeks ago, I was in another coaching session, And my sister, who was coaching me through something, gave me something that she called the impact assessment filter. And this filter was made up of questions. And as she started to ask me questions about the things that I needed to do in the new year and who and what I required to do it, I found out that in taking the time to answer the questions, I was able to distill a clear path to where I needed to go. So you need to ask yourself, what is it? Go back to the design room. Pretend that you didn't know what you had been doing before. And when you step in there, ask yourself what I call discovery questions. Ask yourself, like, what is it that I need in this time? If I am able to achieve what it is that I need to do in this time, how will it make me feel? What impact will it have on what it is that, on the overall outlook of my business? What skill do I need to get an enhancement in? And what skill what part of this business am I able to farm out so that I'm not overwhelmed in the moment? I don't know what your discovery questions will be, peculiarly for the thing you are dealing with. But all of us need to come back to the design room and we need to ask ourselves those discovery questions. The second thing I want to point to you is that you need to engage the power of imagination. While a lot of people think that the mind of man is a trap, I think that the mind of man is one of the most brilliant gifts that God gave to man. That God gave man the capacity to think like him, to process like him, to ideate like him, to be able to see things like him, to be able to step into rooms and create and birth brand new things like him, using the power of the mind. That's one of the most powerful resource that God has given you. So every one of us needs to engage what I call the power of imagination. Because the imagination is a tool with which you can ideate and dream and birth a future. You want to step into rooms as your year is coming to an end, and say, envision what you want to live in 2023. And then by the grace of God, begin to look for steps and processes to be able to arrive where you need to go. In my book, The Theology of Work, here's something that I said. I said the first resource that God has, or the son, or God has for his sons, is the gift of imagination. By imagination, I can travel the world. By imagination, I can run Nigeria for 20 days. By imagination, I can build a castle just sitting where I am. By imagination, I can bring people together who do not know each other and create ideal circumstances and conversations and relationships within them. Imagination is a gift. It is a resource. And that's why people can sit down from their imagination. They write songs that become bestsellers. They write books that become widely known. If you look at Proverbs 23, verse number 7, it says, "For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." I do not mean to be preachy, but you see, whether it doesn't matter what your faith is, you need to embrace the fact that God is giving you a brilliant mind. And yes, when I say a brilliant mind, it doesn't mean that you made first class out of school. It just means that if you allow yourself to take the resource of your mind and plug it into your need in the moment, it's amazing what you can birth just sitting down and opening yourself up to the gift of imagination. So lay hold on the gift of imagination and say to yourself, this is the biggest resource that I have. Because by imagination, you can put together your January through December of 2023. Yes, of course, when you have ideated, when you can see the picture, when you now have crafted a vision, you need to do the work. But there is no way you can do work that you have not seen. The next thing I want to commend to you today is that you must speak what you see. When you get into what I call the betting room, the ideation room, the incubation room, you must, whatever you see, you want to be able to speak it. I have a principle. When I see something in my mind, I write it down. And after I write it down, I sit down and ask myself what I call the discovery questions. I ask myself, this thing that I can see, what do I need to do to make it a manifestation or to bring it to a manifestation? And when I have answered that question, I will ask another question. Who do I need to contribute to this? And once I know who I need to be able to flesh out what it is that I have seen, I ask myself, who knows the person that I need, just in case I don't know the person. So what you see, you must speak up. What that means is that once you have seen the picture, you have to be able to tell people, articulate it. Because that's how you sell the vision anyway. You articulate what you have seen, you share it with the people who you know can help you move it forward. Then you must submit yourself to relationships. After imagination, I think another greatest resource that God is giving us is the capacity to do life with others. In my book, Sister Power, Discovering the Power of Collaboration, I talk a lot about how to forge and nurture the right relationships for your season. So, please note that the operative word is your season, because not every relationship carries for the all of time. But when you find yourself in a place where you have a dream, you are speaking the things that you can see, God will begin to or people will begin to gravitate towards the dream that you have articulated or the vision you have articulated and you are selling. I know someone is saying, are we not veering off? I mean, I'm talking about adapting to change or excelling in a changing environment. And I get it. But you see, since we went back to the drawing board, sometimes the best way to succeed with change is to enter into the ideation room and pretend like you have never done anything before. So your relationships in this time will change. I just told you about the fact that in the new year, one of my major pillars in my workforce, her circumstances are changing, and she's going to step into a role that has less involvement in my day-to-day running. Now, I leaned on this person a lot in the last 2 years, and now I have to figure out how to get it done without her involvement at the level at which she was involved in the previous years. And guess what? I had to say to myself, okay, I'm willing to open myself to brand new relationships. I'm willing to do work with people I have never sighted before. I'm willing to sit down and do the hard work of articulating what I need to be done and to be able to give step-by-step instructions to people whose culture differ from my culture, just to ensure that I keep moving. So you must open yourself out to brand new relationships. There's nothing that you are going to be brought to that you wake up and open the door and it just drops from heaven. God has a way of using people to get us into the places that he needs to get us to. Someone will open the door for you. Someone will speak about you in a room. What that suggests is your relationships are currencies. Your relationships are currencies, and how you spend them will impact on what you do and how you excel in this new dispensation or this new normal, as I'd like to call it. So you want to make sure that you open yourself out. If there's something else that I would commend to you in this time, I'll talk to you about the subject matter of hope. You must keep hope alive. You must keep hope alive. You must keep hope alive. And no, I'm not repeating it because I cannot say something else. I want that to sink in and sink in well. The day you lose hope, the day you begin to give up on yourself, that day, everyone around you will catch the vibe. And they too will begin to separate or walk away and give up on you. So no matter what happens, you need to understand that things may have changed, but they are not calculated to break you. If something is changed around you, it is because there's something else on the inside of you that God wants to birth. And you are the one who would open the door to that, to ensure that you live in that thing that God has called you to in this season. Think about it carefully. Hope is a resource of the kingdom. Hope makes us not ashamed. When you have hope, no matter what your reality is like, you have the capacity to lift up your eyes and see beyond what has happened in the moment. So hope is critical for where it is that we're going. Take a look at how the currencies are plummeting. And this is not exclusive to our nation. I mean, if Qatar says that they have that they are running out of oil. Yes, I saw that news item this week. Qatar say they are running out of oil. Exactly what do you think would happen all over the place? Look at Ukraine and look at Russia. They sneezed and the entire world caught a cold. Food shortage began to happen. Electricity became an issue in Europe. And you think that if we don't have the resource of hope, we will be able to live in the environments such as the ones that we have now? That's not true. You need hope. So you need to make sure you wake up every day and give yourself the pep talk by yourself. Say to yourself every day when you wake up, it's a brand new day. I'm going somewhere to manifest. The Lord is made a way for me. There are resources on my path today. I excel in everything that I'm going to do. You must speak to yourself. And that means that if you have to win yourself from the news, you need to win yourself from the news for the moment, because once hope takes a dive, your entire life takes a nosedive. Then, of course, you must understand that what we need to excel in a new environment or in the new economy is not money. What we need is faith. Faith is a currency. And as long as you can see it, then, and you have a plan, you put together your templates and your processes, there's nothing that you have seen in the imagination room that you cannot birth. So when you think about a resource that makes impossible things become possible, faith is that thing. Now, what is faith? Faith is the capacity to believe in what has yet to come to pass. If you have that, again, this is not a Bible thing. This is a human thing. Whatever you hear motivation speakers will say to you, if you can dream it, you can have it. Or I can't exactly remember how it is that they say it. The point is that faith is a resource, the capacity to see with the eyes, with your spirit, what the eyes have not alighted on, is a gift and a resource we need in an ever-changing economy and environment. The reason why money has not come to us for the things that we need to do, some of us have broken relationships. What that means is that we're not trustworthy in the relationships that we are in. We take from people, we don't give back. Remember that I said to you, submit to relationships. You want to be very scientific in contracting your relationships. And when you contract them, you want to make a commitment to yourself, what you will do or do not do within those relationships. And then you don't to move away from just thinking it and put action behind it. Some of us lament the fact that we don't have money to do the things that we need to do because we've not used our time well. Time is a resource. Everything that you would achieve by the time that God is giving you. So we all have 24 hours. And the way I see it, if you make good use of 24 hours, it would impact upon your bottom line. We need to make sure that we do make the right choices in this time. We need to make sure that we make the right choices in this time. The reason why I couldn't come in person is because I'm away. I decided to take a break. And while I'm away, I went to the shops yesterday and I realized that I didn't need to buy everything in sight. It's a choice I made. And that's because I'm trying to preserve and conserve my funds for something that is more important, like time with my family. So make the right choices. Do not make choices that dig the grave deeper for you. What that means is that if you already have a business that is struggling, your first recourse ought not to be get some more money. Your first recourse should be, what can I save from what I already have? Because a lot of us think, oh, if I get just another business loan, I will get there. But how about looking at the resources you already have? This is not even in my notes, but I feel like I also need to talk about what I call the four streams of income. That every single thing that you do today, the one thing you do, you can earn by in four different ways. I do not have the time to unpack it. But when you go into your ideation room, when you submit yourself to the power of imagination, I want to encourage you to take a look at everything you do today and ask yourself, how much more can I use this? Who else can I serve with what I'm doing right now so that I can earn differently from what I already earn? So if you have something that brings you only one stream of income or two streams of income right now, then what you need is not to look for money to expand something else or add something else to it. What you need is go back to the design room and take those things that you're already doing and ask yourself, how can I break them down to serve other people that I'm not serving right now so that I can earn the money that I need to expand if expansion is what you need. And then there are others of us who think that, okay, what we want to do is expand. And I feel a sense that what you actually need to do is to narrow down what you're doing. You're exerting energy in too many places. It is time to do what I call niche focusing. Bring it together and focus on the one tribe that you need to serve so that you can serve them well and serve them in multiple ways. Time will not afford me to drill deeper into this, but honestly, I think that I'd like to just continue to interact with us at New and see how we can work together to continue to grow in the things that God has called us to do. Above all, I want you to remember that whatever you do today, you are not doing for survivor. You are doing for impact and you are doing for legacy. It doesn't matter what your business looks like. It is first to make the world a better place. That's why you are here. That's why you do the work that you do. And because that is the major goal of work, I promise you, you will not be run to the ground. You just need to step into the room of adaptability and be agile enough to bend over backwards when it is needed so that you can arrive at the things that you need to arrive at. As I close up, here's what I want to say. No matter how the reality of what you're doing is changed, when you come to the room of self-discovery and evolvement, when you ask yourself the right questions and you open yourself up to the right people, what you'll find is not only that you create opportunities, but you'll find that there are opportunities that exist around you that you have not taken advantage of. You will realize that the opportunity that the world has given you, if you take it, you will be replenished and you would make great impact. Again, I thank the organizers of this summit for considering me as one of your speakers this year. I truly wished I was able to be there, but I wasn't able to be there. I look forward to meeting all of you in person one day soon. Thank you so much for having me. And don't forget, this is not supposed to end with you. You are in this room because God has committed something into your hands that you would be a blessing to generations with. And I pray for you today that that is exactly what happens with you everywhere you go. I look forward to sharing your successes and your wins with you, because no matter how it looks like right now, I promise you, you are not alone. There is hope. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Please give her another round of applause. She's talked about three things I caught: faith, hope, opportunity.
Recording in progress.
Yes, once again, good day, everyone. First of all, I'd love to thank NNEW for putting this together. It's quite educative and highly commendable. Secondly, I'll say it's an honor to be here before you. With regards to my topic, explore
Recording in
and
progress.
expand possibilities through social enterprise. What is social enterprise? We're talking about any idea that you can come up with and can impact the society positively to make the world a better place. If you come up with an idea, the first thing that I believe you need to do is to conduct research. Do a lot of research about it. Approach people that have similar projects like the one you have on mind. So you have your feasibility study and build your business plan. Make sure your feasibility study and business plan is such that can attract investors, because this is what they will look at. So when you speak to experts and professionals and at the same time you do your research, then you have the information. When you have that, seek legal advice. And I believe the first and best approach is to look for a lawyer that will give you legal advice pro bono. That's without taking any fee. It's only when you can't get that you should look for a lawyer that you pay fee and agree on your fees first before you take the legal advice. Because you need a lawyer to set up a legal structure. It's the lawyer that will advise you on the kind of company registration you probably need. Whether it's going to be just a business name, a partnership, a limited liability company. And if it's limited liability company, is it going to be one limited by shares or the one limited by guarantee? Is it going to be a charitable organization? All these things are there. Will you need to register with a government parastatal or with a ministry? All these things, the lawyer will put it together and let you have it. Then you have to look at having an accounting structure, because you need to take tab of all expense. The investors will be interested in that. Your partners will be interested in that. And it's equally good for you to have your own record so that you can monitor your progress and know if you are wasting money on anything. Now we're talking about fund. How do you raise fund? Because even if you have everything together and you don't have the fund, how do you move on? So with the fund, you need to have money that you have put aside. If you don't even have that, you can look around you, reach out to family and friends. But with family and friends, let them understand, not just tell them, let them understand all the risk involved in the project. And at the same time, it would be nice to consider how it will affect your relationship if for any reason the business fails. This is crucial too. Then another thing you have to look at is how to save cost. How do you save cost? Start with volunteers. Have volunteers that are experts, professionals, that can assist you to cut down the cost. Look around for where you can get a free office space. It could just be a table and desk. You might have a whole room there, but you need somewhere that you will put the address on your website where people can reach you. They can come around for interview, for meetings. Then your correspondences will be going there as well. Then when you are able to save cost, there are other things you still have to look at. If you are selecting a project, remember some challenges, basic challenges that could come up, and be careful. For instance, where we're talking about electricity consumption, it can bring down business. So you have to consider that. Then if it's going to involve the foreign exchange, that's foreign currency, you have to take into cognizance the way the exchange rate fluctuates as well. This is very important. And if eventually you are able to set up, you have to look and identify your markets. Identify your markets, check out how competitive it is. Are you offering something different from ordinary? Do you have something you want to do different that will attract people and make you unique in the industry? This is very, very essential as well. And all in all, I believe there are
Recording in
some
progress.
areas, like we have the lacuna when we're talking about the community-based, which is not just peculiar, but is conversant and relates to us in Nigeria. There are some areas when we talk about disability, right? The disabled, do they have equal opportunity as others? I'm talking about areas where we can look at to set up social enterprise. We can look at homelessness, yes, shelter. There are lots of children, youths, boys and girls, and even girls too. They just troop into the urban areas. You know the traffic of people that comes into Lagos on a daily basis? Some of them don't even have anybody. They are just after greener pasture. And when they come in, some of them end up under the bridge. And with time, they end up with the wrong crowd and might end up in the crime world. It happens all the time. Some end up being alcoholic. They end up taking illicit drugs. It's not as if they are all of them or they are not empowered. There are some of them that are quite graduates. Some of them are empowered with skills with which they can be gainfully employed, but they don't have the opportunity. So these are areas we could also look at to empower and assist through social enterprise. Lastly, is digital world now. You can market online. All you need to do is just identify the social media that best service what you do. Is it service? Is it product? If it's product, you can go online as well. But even on the physical side, for instance, let's say it's something that can be sold at the supermarket. If you go there, they can allow you make an arrangement where you put your products there. Some will even allow you to put a staff there that will help you to market your product until you gain ground. And I can tell you that there are quite a lot more. All we have to do is look inward and look around us. We'll be able to identify where we can make our own impact on the community and the world at large to have the best. Thank you.
Recording
All
in progress.
right. So, in case you didn't listen attentively, she gave you free tips. Things that you would pay for if you have to get a lawyer. You got it free of charge. Please give her a round of applause again. Ngone Diop is an economist, development expert. She is the director of UNECA's Sub-Regional Office for West Africa. And prior to this appointment, Ngone served as chief of the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment at ECHA, where she led the formulation and implementation of innovative tools and policy researches and tailored advisory services to African member states. Before joining ECA, Ms. Diop served as DFID, the UK Department of International Development advisor to the government of Rwanda after the genocide, during which she led the conceptualization and effective implementation of transformative policies and programs for Rwanda's reconstruction, particularly relating to gender equality and women's empowerment, while heading the poverty growth and MDG's work at UNDP GT, BDP, New York. Ngone led innovative policy work on gender, economic growth and development, and provided technical support and capacity building components for 56 countries, the majority of which were African. Ms. Diop served as regional technical advisor to the World Bank Public Finance Gender Budgeting Outreach Program for West and Central Africa. Her previous positions include researcher at the Council for the Development of Social Science Research in Africa and lecturer in economics at the Institute of Economics and Management in Dakar, Senegal. Her publications on gender budgeting and public finance are featured in the Commonwealth and IDRC book, Gender Budgeting Makes More Sense. Z book, Women and Land in Africa, Culture, Rights and Realizing Women's Rights. And another book on engendering justice. Well, that's already out, among others. Ms. Diop was the vice president of Akina Mamawa Africa, and a board member of the Agency for Cooperation and Research in Development.
Allow me to say thank you to you. I'm sorry I was so busy that I couldn't make it this morning. But I'm extremely busy because of the head of state summit here. But I value what you're doing. It's extremely important. So I have to skip some of those meetings and come to share with you some of my insight. So without further ado, let me thank very much the president of the NECA Network on Entrepreneurs Women in New, who is a phenomenal, very, very dynamic woman, and all the women who are part and parcel of this this very, as we say, agency, because it's an agency for change, and I think you're doing such a good work. So thank you and well done. So I was asked to speak about the African trade inclusion and what kind of opportunity are out there for women. Sorry, I hope the camera will work. So next, please. I would like very quickly to tackle a few issues. Number one, I think it's so important to put it in context. When I say context, is a woman in Africa, and then just have insight into the position, because if we are talking about inclusion, and if we are actually addressing it in a certain framework, we also have to identify what kind of framework we're talking about. And here I would like to use the CFTA as an anchor. The CFTA stands for the African Continental Free Trade Area. I'm sure you are familiar with that. And I can't help using some, stylized facts to support my messages or the quick analysis I'm doing. As an economist, I think I can't help doing that. So forgive me if I'm using many facts and figures and graphs and so on. And I would like to tackle really, what are there in terms of trade inclusion. And because we can't talk about trade inclusion in a nutshell, I would just, ex nihilo, I just want to fit it into the CFTA. So I'll be quickly addressing one of the things we're doing, especially which is quite related to that, and that will be that. So please, can I have the next one? I know the time is running for you, and I don't want to take a lot of your time. And I think it's so important to bringing this in context. The context is so complex, and we have to navigate the complexity. But by navigating the geopolitics and the geostrategy we are in, we need to remember some of those figures about our African women, which are actually critical to this continent transformation and the inclusiveness agenda as spelled out in the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations, but also Agenda 2063. But inclusion should not start just like that, because we also have to say you can only include an understanding how far we are in terms of including women in the process, economic processes, wealth creation process, by understanding that position and where are they. And there are quick facts and figures. Like here, we know that the proportion, for example, of women headed, in the poverty is still very high, despite many progress. But the unemployment, for example, in terms of the formal unemployment, is also higher in women, among women than among men. But this is also, I have to say, underestimated, because it does not take into account the very important, magnificent percentage of women who are concentrated in the informal sector. And when it comes to all that is related to managerial position at all levels in different sectors, well, we're quite doing well because of the political, managerial, what you say, and gender parity. Many countries are doing well, which actually hide some of the disparity when it comes to the governance or leadership in the economic decision making and so on, like being head of enterprise and so on and so forth. Next. And very quickly, of course, this we know they are, and that's why I was saying that figures we have in many of our statistics actually can be misleading, because women are concentrated in the informal sector, and they get little or less than the normal employment. But when it comes also to young people and men, in many African countries, they are also concentrated in the informal sector. So somehow we do need more insight into that and be able to understanding, where are the women into the formal sector, which I have told you, they are less more in the very low kind of level of the sectors or formal sector position, etc., than men. And then if you look at the majority of women in Africa, largely are motivated largely by necessity. They are there as well, rather than by choice, meaning they don't wake up overnight and say, I'm going to enter into the, the business sector because I have a business model. I have a kind of choices in terms of the sector, and I would like to push this because of my expertise, of my choices, and the plan I have in the future. Most of them, and we have them study on that, they are entering it because of necessity. They don't have any other opportunity. They enter into the market, they will sell, they will buy, they will import, they will, etc., etc. And which means on most of the things are not well planned, because what really they need to have from the outset is be able to respond to their first needs, their sometimes basic necessity. It doesn't mean they are not entrepreneurs. They are entrepreneurs, but they are in circumstances and conditions that actually don't allow them to think through what is it that they want to achieve in the business ecosystem, and what does it take for them to achieve, and what do they have. So they need to respond to their immediate need. And of course, this is very related to the education. I know because of the education system, and we have very recent data from ECA, from UNCTAD, and from other IMF, for example, show that, when you have 37% of women have certain education or schooling level, like some 10 you have compared to Montessori to men 48%. And then, but if you actually dig into and try to understanding what level they are, most of them, they actually do not achieve the third level, which we call in the Francophone system or other system, or the, let's say, bachelor and so on, let alone the increase or higher level. So they are actually in a medium, most of them who succeed medium level. They don't go far at a level that provides them with the technicality and the skill needed to, when they engage in the business sector and when they engage in all those economic sectors, they could master it and they actually lead themselves, and the self-leadership that is extremely important, be able to unlock any opportunity that are out there. So the inclusion up there actually start right from the, let's say, education. So they are discriminated again. And the education system is not, in many, many countries, the curriculum, whatever, they are not discriminated openly or institutionally, but the fact that they don't take into account a woman need and their situation are not integrated into that education, actually, in fine, is a kind of discrimination, is a kind, will lead to inequality in access to economic opportunities, exclusion when it comes to the business ecosystem and the economic system itself. But of course, it's very related to the time spent in unpaid care work. So there is a kind of balance in the distribution of unpaid care work. We know it. And of course, we do know it is here that women spend 2 times. So those are the kind of facts that give us insight into that exclusion of women, de facto. Not it is that we say women do not have what it takes or so on, but there is a social construction, an economic construction, ecosystem, which de facto exclude women, and it cut across all African countries. Next. And of course, we do have, all these, it is changing. We know that, how changing this reality help to increase economic growth is, we do know there's a powerful correlation between the education, between the access to training, to finance, to really building a kind of economic agent, to one economic agent who can actually engage fully, make their choice in the economic system and so on. So the argument for actually addressing the exclusion and investing in women inclusion in the economic business sector or ecosystem is out there. We don't know, we just want to remind ourselves, but it's out there, it is supported by many narratives and of course by statistics and data. Next. Next. Very well. I think this is so important to say. It's so important to see because you cannot talk about women economic opportunities and trade inclusion without just knowing some of those the future of the Africa trade right now. Of course, we're not doing well. We're not doing well because we only account for 2.9% of the product. And when I say production, it's the productive one. The productive production, if I may say. And this, you have the sources. Of course, we also have the very limited and low intra-Africa trade, which is at least not less even half on the other region. I mean, Latin American, they trade a lot between them. When you go to Europe, it's the same, and America, it's the same. But here in Africa, we tend to turn, our trading relationship with outside, external Africa, and then try to. And I think the idea of having those understanding those challenges is not about focusing on them a lot, but understanding the challenges to be able to turn them into opportunity, into regional trade opportunity. Next. And of course, we also know that by turning them into regional trading opportunity, we also tackling the issue we're discussing now, which is the inclusive growth. We're trying also to say you cannot actually achieve inclusive growth as spelled out in Agenda 2063 and Agenda 2030 unless you bring women into the the picture. So yes, the picture right now is a picture of exclusion, but the picture right now is also the picture of hope and the picture of opportunity, because as African, we have defined and understood blueprint. And next. Next, please. The blueprint, I mean, we just in West Africa, is again, how do we turn the challenges into opportunity? But next, I'm going to go right through to the blueprint, which is the CFTA. Of course, I cannot go do that before unless I tackle some of those issues related also to Nigeria. I think Nigeria not only has the largest African economy, but does have the largest also population. And what is so important in West Africa, Nigeria can be, the hub for that, transformation and inclusion that bring women into the picture. And I think it's extremely important as we talk about West Africa or Africa, we bear in mind those champions or the countries that have what it takes to be champion. Next, like Nigeria. This is so important. You can see that whatever we say, when you take, the kind of what we need to do in that inclusion, what the kind of missing link we have, you really have to notice this disparity. And that's why data is very, very important, because the disparity is telling you, and from maybe the data are not the same from one country to another, but you can see in terms of agriculture, for example, women are share in the agriculture population and with ownership of secure right over agricultural land and so on. And it's also extremely important to remember those figures and that exclusion versus inclusion, because as I said, there is exclusion, but there will be opportunity to turn them into inclusion. And for Niger, you can see the color one, like this one, the red one are women, and then the light red, pink, let me say, are for man. So you can see for some countries, especially if you look at Burkina Faso, you have women who only have, they are in the agriculture sector and they are agent for backbone for the agriculture, but they only will secure ownership of like 5.9% only among the women agriculture agent actually secure kind of land ownership and so on, compared to 30.48, 35 women. And you have here for Ethiopia, which has actually changed a little bit, because on some of those customary law they were addressing, and some of those policies and so on. But yet, if you look at now and have new data, I'm not sure whether the situation have changed or not. We have some reversal from time to time, depending on the political, depending on also the advocacy, and depending on the whole context, national and regional, so which we need to bear in mind and continue monitoring it. You can see the case for Nigeria is 29.7 with its 30 compared to 59.8 for men. Next. So those are things are really opportunities. And I always say opportunities has to be identified. And if we have, and I like what you put here, explore all opportunities. I don't know whether it's your tag for the summit, etc. But I think that's the way it should be. All challenges are opportunity, because it reminds us we need to engage in a thought-provocative dynamics to be able to think outside the box using facts, fertilize fact, understanding what are underpinning reason and factor of those challenges in order to identify some building block that can actually turn them into opportunity. And here I would like to say, for inclusion into the African, we do have one, which is our African continental free trade area. Our African continental free trade area offer opportunity for inclusion of all Africans, but more importantly, it offers opportunity for women, especially women entrepreneur, women in the business ecosystem, because it will build the large, already it has been signed in 2019, adopted by member states, and right now 44 countries have adopted, have ratified. So it means it's advancing very well. And if you look at in West Africa, out of the 15 West African countries, only Cape Verde have not yet ratified. So it gives us impetus to actually move forward in supporting them and how we come to it and be able to identify that opportunity. And West Africa is moving very, very fast compared to other regions because we have bases. We have already promoted the free movement of goods and services through our ECOWAS, among others. So we do have momentum there, and we do have to understand what does it take to bring more women to actually shape that inclusion dynamic we are in, which is not perfect, I must say. I mean, when you have 54 countries with 1.2 billion people and a combined GDP of 2.5 trillion, it is the first in its kind since WTO was actually set up. I mean, it's even bigger market than the European Union and so on. And it seeks to eliminate, which is extremely good, not only the free movement of people, capital, and businesses, but it also seeks to eliminate the tariff of 97% of goods traded in Africa. So it means all along, across the board, from different population group and business group, women and men, there are opportunity out there for inclusion and avoid and addressing exclusion, leaving no one behind, has spelled out in the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations and Agenda 2063 on African Union. So safety economic opportunity for women, the blueprint for the continent, inclusive, transformative, and trade and development. Why? Because if it is like that, unless you bring women into the picture, I mean, you will not achieve inclusion because women are the majority of African population, a little bit more than 50s. Some last survey are saying 51, but anyway, we are the majority. If it is we are the majority just for 1% higher, we are the majority. So you cannot, not only in terms of the number of the population, but in terms of the contribution to the economy, in terms of the being the backbone woman of the agriculture system, which is key to actually unlocking the potential of the continent, unlocking the potential for enhancing and fostering trade within the continent to be able to make it more inclusive and more transformative. Next. And I still would like to bring also some data to support what I'm saying. The intra-Africa trade is more focused, of course, right now in raw material, extractive goods are sent outside, which can actually, if we turn them into the continent, it can be deepened by the safety and generating higher income. Again, I will be talking about those challenges as opportunities. And then, of course, we know the share of processed and semi-processed good in export in ores, meaning when what we export to other countries are raw material, extractive good. And this one, sorry, it was Africa trading with others instead of intra-Africa. With intra-Africa trade, we trade more, even 40%, than the good we trade with external. The good we trade with external is like this. You will see for example, export to the rest of the world, more than 65% was actually based on raw material, based on extractive goods, etc., like oil, like mineral, and so because we are endowed with minerals. So the continent is really endowed with very magnificent mineral and natural resources, but unfortunately, they are not inclusive. Because why? Because they are exported raw, they are exported without value addition, which means the return for those who export them, those who work on it, being women, the majority for the agriculture, and being men and so on, who actually are producing the material, raw material with their hand, without protection, they receive very little. If they receive external investor receive 80%, let me say that way, I mean, those people from Africa who work on this on the ground will receive 10% or less. The same with the cacao from Cote d'Ivoire, cacao from Ghana, and so on. So we are still in that dynamic, which is exclusive because we are creating resources, but we are not redistributing the resources among all of the population group, especially women who happen to be the backbone of the agribusiness, which is critical to really reinforcing the Africa intra-trade that make it inclusive. Next. But we have this blueprint in CFTA, which can be an opportunity for that inclusion. Opportunity not only to enhance Africa, I've said it, I think it will be a 1.27 billion market if it is effectively implemented. It projects to be a 1.70 billion by 2030. And out of that, 600 will be middle class. It means implication, high demand of quality goods and service. If you look at the historiography of economic industrialization, of economic and economic diversification, you always have, emerging of new demand, the new consumer who are actually aiming for more product, but more quality product, all of which offer opportunity for those who are the agent of the production, be it in the food, be it in a, other sector, to gain from that process of change. And that's the kind of economic redistribution you would like to see. Without it, you will not have inclusion. Inclusion is not only to have people working and have many of them working. You may have 100 million people working and working everywhere. But if they are working in the sector, informal sector, where they receive very tiny return from their work, you are perpetrating exclusion and poverty. It means the wealth is actually monopolized, is concentrated in the hand of like 10% of the population or 20, and this is the case in many countries, or 45% of the wealth are concentrated in the hand of 10% of the population. And if you dig into among the 10% of the population, you will find 0.1 or 1% of women. So that is exclusion. But it is very related to the way and the dynamic of wealth creation. The economic profile and structure make it very difficult to include all people and all group of the population. But that's why the response we are trying to see as African is to say enough is enough. We cannot continue the paradox of the plenty. We have magnificent resources, yet we have poor people, yet it doesn't actually trickle down to everyone. We need to come as one Africa. We need to come to unlock the potential we have by using trade as a momentum and by trade as the blueprint for inclusion and for prosperity. And that's why the CFTA was adopted. And the CFTA will provide, it will lead to aggregate gross domestic product of 6 trillion in purchasing parity term. Is extremely high. It will also, the intra-Africa trade projected to grow by 52.3 by 2000 right now, and global trade by 6%, and attract 4 trillion in investment in concern. This does have implication on women businesses, on women entrepreneurs, on women, on all women. It does have implication on the inclusion and the inclusive fact, the actual inclusion of women in the business making, of women in the business ecosystem, of women in the economic system of the ecosystem of the continent. Next. And I think this is so important because it's not something we say ex nihilo just like that. It's not something we say like, it's a point of promise, but it's a promise that is underscored by completely and very in-depth thinking, testing, and of course, link it also and compare with what happened elsewhere in other regions. I have just told you that the trajectory or the whole historiography of economic transformation of change in the other region suggests that unless you really take effort to enhance your productivity, to put an order into your economic system, to make it in a way that bring all actors together and include them across the board, you won't achieve economic development, nor can you achieve poverty reduction, nor can you achieve peace and sustainability. You could see the powerful correlation between trade as a factor or element or tool or strategy for inclusion, and the whole issue that are inherent in that process. Like to say, the nexus between that trade inclusion, economic growth, economic development, social construct, and peace and development. And the CFTA is not a panacea, but it does have opportunity to really bring in women in the center of that process of economic development. Women are there, but they are not recognized because they don't have what it takes to, go further and deepen and be engaged in the more productive and with more return activities or sector. But the CFTA open opportunity, but it's not a panacea. Why? Because we know with statistics and the studies that was done recently by our partner, AfriCIMBank, that the export potential for intra-Africa trade are at actually about more than 84 billion. And for West Africa is about 9.5 billion. And of course, other potential, all of which offer women opportunity to be included, to include themselves, to participate in the trade, and to benefit effectively from the process, from the trade in this, within the CFTA framework. And of course, this also is so important because that will be meaning greater participation of women. And because women are the backbone of the agricultural sector, representing, depending on country, from something like 50, 55 to 75, depending in some country, it depends on the context and also the level of development. They do have critical role and they play critical role in the agribusiness and agricultural value chain, which are going on in the continent. In Nigeria, you have a very big agriculture value chain, but of course it's not enough. What we are saying, how do we scale up? How do we expand? How do we make sure we move from good to great? How do we make sure we accelerate that process? And in terms of quantity and in terms of quality, and the CFTA can bring, all of which will open door and window of opportunity for those who are excluded or who are not really included properly, women and the youth. It also reduces the cost of formal trade. Many women, and I will give some figure on the cross-border trade. Women are in the cross-border trade. And then right now, I'm sure what you see in all West Africa, you also have seen it in all African countries. They are like 80% of the cross-border trade. And the trade itself in Africa, by definition, is cross-border trade. So this well-defined, established, and organized framework to increase Africa trade will actually lead to more opportunity for women who are already there, who are facing many challenges, but yet they are there. Next, quickly, and I'm going to end so that we can open the floor. And of course, not only the CFTA, the way it is framed, open windows, and it's actually the key underpinning and the key objective of the CFTA, that inclusive growth and inclusive development and transformative development. And the protocol, as you know, they are different protocols, because by definition, for the CFTA to be effectively implemented, those protocols has to be documented. There should be some kind of policy update, and government should apply them to their law, and then be able to actually implement it. And process is going on. Countries are really committed to so. Those protocols are the following very quickly, the major one. Protocol on trade in goods, which actually open it and say, it open up opportunity for the goods and services across the continent to be able to move. You can make your good in Nigeria or in Niger and so on, and send it outside even ECOWAS. Because in ECOWAS region, you don't have that problem, but we have lots. Well, you still have problem in ECOWAS region because the rules and regulations are not well implemented. But even you have that framework already, legal framework, and you have the rule of origin. The rule of origin is also very important because instead of now buying product from elsewhere, can be European, American, or Asia, bring them and then buy them, send them again within Africa, which actually hamper the production on the continent. We'll make sure through this country will make sure to the CFTA that the product itself is the product that comes from African countries. So women are well vested into the agriculture sector, for example, and agricultural value chain, and all those handmade which are somehow related. So those handmade, let me say basket, let me say clothes, and so on, made by women, and the industry, the creative industry, they are out there. Most of it, instead of women buying from women, they will take few things from elsewhere, add it to it, and then if you are not applying the rule and regulation, effectively, you will actually do the job. It continue. They will be the backbone of the handmade, the creative, this and a value chain in the agriculture, but they will not benefit because they will sell it instead of making sure that the producer will get what it takes. So this one is addressed in the protocol, and it is an opportunity for women. The other thing is also the protocol that offer women to access regional market. All in all, it can only, the CFTA can only be inclusive if all women and men and all of them can really have opportunity to move from one region to another. And I was telling you those facility out there. Next, I think I have 2 more slides to go. Can I have next? So this is so important because inclusion is not only on paper. You have many, many legal frameworks. You have preferential in trade regime and so on and so forth. But they are here learning from the mistake from some legal framework related to intra-Africa trade. There are provision and there are some action measure taken to really enforce them and be able to take action if they are not enforced and applied properly. And then the preferential trade regime as well, which in this one really provide facility for the small scale cross-border traders. And here women are out there. I think I have already said that this one, if it is applied properly, it is applied effectively, I think the best beneficiary will be women because of the position already in out there. And you have also the other things, not only women are in the cross-border trade, but if you look at the economic ecosystem, you have many women in West Africa especially who move from one country, depending on the season, to go and do some activity, agriculture activity, can be in Chad, in Nigeria or Burkina Faso or Niger, depending on the season, because they still, unfortunately, our country has not yet invest properly in irrigation. So they try to start migration within Africa. Most of the time, the reason is agricultural product and so on. So not only they will be doing this trading, etc., but they will produce and trade. But what is important is they will have opportunity to add value to the production, agriculture production. And right now, many women are in there trying to add value. We did this forum in Nigeria last year. We could really witness the extent to which women are in the value chain, agricultural value chain and agribusiness. We need to bring it to a scale to make it more inclusive of more women, leaving no woman behind. Next. Something which is so important also to reinforce the way in which the CFTA can expand woman opportunity in the agriculture, inter-Africa exchange. Is you can see cross-border trade in, for example, in Africa continue to grow. And here I was just trying to understanding the mega trend. I come across this from Rwanda. Rwanda with other countries in Eastern Africa, they have this very dynamic cross-border trade. But the West African West Africa cross-border trade is actually more dynamic, if you see. But even here, for the data we have, which is 2017, you could see in 2016, women was like 82 cross-border trade, and men was 100 in Rwanda, with the other countries, neighboring countries within Eastern Africa, of course. But here you can see, because on some few facility in terms of, less no trade barrier, sometimes there were a lot of stock and so on. So The customer was like more educated in understanding women issues. So that very small action or big action had impact on the increase in on the cross-border trade and benefit of women. And you see here, there were more women, for example, in 2017, more than like 110 or 112, 113 in Rwanda from one year to another. So you could see the impact in terms of enforcing the role and the impact effects of clarifying sensitive issue and informing customer services and so on has immediate impact and positive impact on those who are in the cross-border trade. So if we apply, implement and enforce the protocol and ensuring that women themselves know them and all the customers know them, it means it will have magnificent positive impact and economic impact of those who are well established and know the terrain because they have been there for a while. They are the key agents in the cross-border trade. Next. So it's important also to say those are magnificent provision that provide opportunities, but we do need to understand what does it takes for women. For women to be able to harness the opportunity. How do we harness the opportunity for women of the CFTA for women entrepreneurs? The CFTA is perfect on paper. It's perfect also on things, but I think it's important to understand it will not be automatic change. It will not be applied by itself just like that overnight. This should be, number one, a strong commitment by all of us, by public, by government, by public service, etc., but by women themselves to educate themselves, to understanding what does it mean, what CFTA mean, and what are the opportunities inherent in the CFTA. Unless you do that, you can work so hard, you can want to expand your businesses, but you will not be able to really harness the CFTA opportunities fully. So I really argue, before doing whatever to say, it's a stake, it's a big one. There are opportunity out there. Before others can grab it, for entrepreneur, well-established male entrepreneur, you need to do it. And you need to do it by reading the protocols, by understanding what does it mean, because sometimes they can be complicated, but they can be very easy as well. If you make little bit effort, then if you face some challenges, I think you'll be able to tackle them. Number one, by saying, that is not my understanding of the protocol. But number two, and I think that should be even number one, engage with whoever can deconstruct and reconstruct those protocols for you and what it means for your business, what it means for your movement, what it means for the network of entrepreneur women in Nigeria and in Africa. And I think from the other point of view, and that one can be done by you, you are an agency. You come because by being an entrepreneur, a network of entrepreneur women, you are an agency de facto. You have the force and the positive force to do a coalition for making change, coalition for reaching out to other business women, coalition for understanding, coalition for engaging. And here I just want to say a big opportunity at public procurement. I have already shared with you that out of the 1.70 million of consumers that in the market with the CFTA, 600 million we actually trillion 600 million will actually be in the middle class at a certain level with a requirement, demand for quality good, demand for space and so on. So it's a lot, and government themselves, they will need investors. They will need those entrepreneurs, meaning women who have been out there, to be able to unlock some of those opportunities, to be able to work on the agribusiness, to be able to export and so on. Otherwise, they will not gain anything or gain little from the CFTA. So you are well positioned because you are entrepreneur. You have been there, and most of you or some of you are savvy entrepreneur. So you need to use that momentum, turn it into unique change to be able to access the unique opportunity inherent in the CFTA. You can do that only if you engage in what I have just said and more master the protocol and identifying the entry point for you to actually engage in the negotiation. There will be protocol actually specific for women and so on. Consultations are going on here and there. And right now here, there's a big summit, African Union Summit on industrialization and diversification, and the anchor has been the CFTA. And Women's Council, African Women Business Council, are out there trying to bring in women, to bring in the youth to be part and party of the dynamic of change. So really, everything is out there for you to grab by continuing your hard work, your quality work, but also your perseverance and the audacity of action to be part and parcel of the dynamic. And of course, supporting each other as an agency for change. I told you last time, there's a voice and agency. The voice can come together and be able to really engage with other women from across the continent, to be able to understand what is going on, to be able to say what are the endpoints out there, how do we support each other, how do we share information, but master what it takes to engage into, because if you engage in that plan, if you engage in the whole process and you don't master something else, you will be, it's a process. I mean, you will have competition anyway, and you will have those who are well prepared and those who will be left behind because they didn't do what it takes to be fully and effectively part and parcel. But I know it will not be your case. Knowing your dynamism, knowing your enthusiasm, you will add your ambition, you will add your audacity to be able to say, we have our seat out there, and we will be part of this process of change. You have already started. Next, and I think is the last. Next and last. Yes. Before that, the ECA. Can I have the other? Yes, thank you. So I was saying, what does it take? But you are not alone in that process. Women entrepreneurs and all women who are in this trade, in intra-Africa trade, who are excluded and who are included, are not on this framework, on this journey alone. You have many partners out there in Africa, across Africa, African institutions, United Nations institutions, civil society, and you are part of it. And for us, what we have been trying to do is to support that process of change, building on the momentum that has been created everywhere on the continent. We really would like to say, we would like to support by doing something. And when we did our African Business Forum, we designed a West Africa business linkages with a view to supporting that inclusiveness, also supporting businesswomen and youth to be part and parcel in the economic ecosystem, the business ecosystem, to leapfrog and using the FTA as an anchor. I will stop there because there's a lot to say, but my key message are twofold. What you need is, number one, again, ambition. You have ambition, but ambition to be part and parcel of this CFTA and to benefit from them, to reclaim your position, to claim your position. The other one is audacity. The audacity to really take action and connotate action and to be able to have some very powerful indicators that show your result, that can inform you to what extent you are actually making progress and you are part and parcel of the CFTA process as contributor, but also a beneficiary. I thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Ms. Diop, are you still online? I have a question for you.
I am online, yes.
Okay, so this question says, do you agree that the issue of gender inequality poses a great risk to Africa's bottom line and to the very notion of the AfTA? If so, how is your organization working with the African government to ensure that there is a level playing field for women entrepreneurs as the AfTA unfolds?
No, I totally agree that women's discrimination against women and gender inequality actually can prevent women from, can prevent CFTA from being a successful framework. And I know it also hampers our economic development and so on. But I think there is also room for hope, not only hope in an empty hope, I may say, but hope because a lot has been done so far to actually addressing the gender inequality, to addressing women's discrimination against women. And I think what government should do, as I said, I can summarize them around three things. Number one is to make sure that in the whole process of negotiation to involve women. In all countries, women should be involved, and women entrepreneurs, those who are the backbone of entrepreneurship, should be involved. Which is so important is to make sure that to scale up the very good investment that businesswomen are making. If you are a firm or business as a woman in a very specific area, I mean, if you want to be competitive within the CFTA implementation, you will need to increase not only the quantity but the quality and scale up. And I think that the government can help through different organs to be able to support that things. I also think the other measure that government can help make it effective is the whole issue of property and land ownership. For example, I have shown you that in many countries, land ownership or control over land, I mean, it's not there, it's not a reality. So unless you have that, the entrepreneur will not be able to have, access to substantial finance that can help them to scale up their activity and make sure they meet the standardization and the quality that are required to be competitive. So those are three kinds of measures to me that are essential for really addressing any inequality, especially in this trade, and be able to achieve effective and full inclusion of the industry. Go ahead.
Thank
Over
you so
to
much.
you, Madam Chair. We are still trying. My colleague, IT specialist, is trying to fix the camera. We're having problem, but meanwhile, let's continue.
Thank you so much, Ms. Diop. Let me quickly call on Mrs. Rosamond Toluwanimi. She's going to say a few words. So, Ms. Diop, please hold on for us just a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to express the appreciation of NEW, the executive of NEW, headed by Mrs. Fumi Arowogun, and the executive, all the members of NEW watching online and offline. I want to express our deepest appreciation to Mrs. Diop, UN Director on ACA, for that well-researched paper with passion and empathy and zeal to help women go beyond borders, there in all that they do. Mrs. Diop, I want you to know that we really appreciate you. God bless you. And there's a prayer I normally pray. I say, peace of God and his richest blessings always abide with you in Jesus' name. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Let's put our hands together. Thank you. We appreciate you. God bless you more.
Women are powerful. I was alone. I couldn't, whatever camera was not working, but because of this woman, especially IT, she has fixed it. Few women are in the IT sector. You can see how women can make the difference. So I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm sorry, I'm so busy with this summit. I would have loved to continue with you and having that experience with you, but I have to leave. So forgive me if I'm leaving now. And I am with you. You can count on me at Vita Atenam.
Thank you again. Okay, so I hope you all were able to get one or two things. I have gifts afterwards. Smile now. No. All right, so now our next speaker, we have to quickly take her because she's been here for a while and she has to catch a train very soon. So our next speaker is Anima Shao Aminat Adirayo. She has over 12 years experience in manufacturing of shoes, bags, and fashion accessories. Anima Shao Aminat Adirayo is the creative director of Swift fashion, and leather works, where she creates designs and manages the factory production to meet up with customers' needs. She is also the CEO of Derayo Vocational Limited, where she manages the training on fashion skills to youths and housewives. She launched the project transforming 10,000 teenagers to young bosses in Oyo State, Ibadan. That deserves a round of applause. And that was in the year 2019. She also trained, well, in 2019, she went ahead to train 10,000 secondary school pupils on 8 different vocational skills free. Animashaun Aminat Adiraya holds a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurialism and business management from National Open University, Noun. She studied diploma in marketing from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Ogun State. She also studied French and has DELF certificate. She was privileged to be selected among the top 50 women in business in Nigeria, sponsored by World Bank, to study entrepreneurial management at Enterprise Development Center, EDC, Lagos Business School. In fulfilling her creative arts and entrepreneurial passion, she co-founded the Prospects for Girls Foundation, an NGO that trains and empowers young girls in Africa. UNESCO picked her story as one of 50 most kindness stories in the world, representing Nigeria in the Kindness Matters Book Year 2021. She is an alumni of Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, AWE. Animashaun Aminat Adiraya is driven by reducing the rate of unemployment in Nigeria. She has won various awards. Among them is Best Female Entrepreneur Award Year 2018 and 2019 from Popper Awards. She also won the Most Influential Personality in Oyo State in year 2018 and 2019 from Ibadan Media. Please give a rousing applause to Animashaun Aminat Adirayo.
So happy and I'm excited that I'm coming here, giving a topic. It actually relates with my story. And it actually shows what I've done over the years. And while they were reading the profile, my head was swelling like, I work for one person. Yes, and I know we are business women here in the room. We've done so much for our business over time, which we might feel that, okay, are we progressing? We are in a tough terrain in Nigeria, yes. Sometimes you'll feel stuck, like, what can I do next? But while we are starting entrepreneurial journey, there's no manual, they just tell us to go out there, create the opportunities. Yes, go out there, go and make it work, go out there, go and network, go and create opportunities for all the young ones coming. But no one actually gave us the manual to follow to ensure that we achieve all our goals and aims and vision of our business. And to excel as an entrepreneur, I'm going to be pointing out some major points that has helped me in the entrepreneurial journey. The first one, I think when commitment, yes, how committed are we to our business ideas, to our business? Handling family, jungling, taking care of the children, the home, and the business. It's not funny, and we are here in Nigeria, especially people in Lagos. It's not easy. I can relate with that. How do we, staying committed? I think when I wanted to start that in the year 2012, I remembered I was telling my friend that I want to start the business. I've learned shoemaking and bag making for 4 years. And how am I going to start? As in, who is going to buy my product? I was so scared, the fear that we usually have, like, how am I going to be received in the market? And they were like, I don't know anybody who is going to buy my product. That is where it starts from. So how do you excel? How do you ensure that you actually make it happen? You actually ensure that your product is received in the market? And I think she told me that just start with what you have, start where you are, and you're going to, you see that with time, you grow and you have a lot of market. So when commitment, having been committed to Yoruba, I wanted to say, I was like, I don't have funds. I had to look, okay, how can I ensure that I have set up a mini factory? Funniest part is, you know, the normal shoemaker and bag maker, when you see them, you will like, dirty, small shops by the roadside. I wanted more. I wanted, you know, shoemaking done in a different form. That was the drive, the commitment. I was like, okay, fine. Why not set up a mini factory where I have just one machine, one stable and one stool, and I could just start off from there. And I decided, I made up my mind. I had a phone and I sold my phone, and that was how I was able to acquire the machine that I started with. That is the angle of commitment. Being committed, sacrifice, yes. Ensuring that you put things in place that will ensure that you succeed in life. So commitment, then I'll talk about the execution. How do you execute your business strategies? Do you even believe in them? Not to talk of now your staff taking it up from you. Execution, being diligent at business strategies, your the plans that you have. How do you execute your business plan? And also new technologies. I want to, those are the things that helped me. Technologies, embracing the new technologies in business, in your industry. How can you leverage on technology? How can you ensure that the new technology that's even evolving? Thank God to social media. You can see we've heard our speakers, they are not in here, and we're able to flow with what they're saying. So how can we ensure that the business idea that we have, our business that we are running, what can we sell with it that we can use social media, that we can leverage on technology to reach the world and excel as an entrepreneur? The world is waiting for us. Yes. And also, I want to leave us to, we should be good. Our business should, what does our business represent? What does it stand for? I've been known for vocational skills. I'm passionate about training youth and teenagers. I just want them to excel. But I can't do that by, you know, sitting down and folding my hands. I have to first make myself as an example to show myself that, yes, you can make shoe, you can make bag, and be someone in life. That is why I made myself an example for them. UNESCO wrote it that it wasn't like, you know, everybody or youth, you be like, I want to travel out. Yes, you can travel out, but travel out should be for you to expand your business, should be for you to attend exhibition and bring in more opportunities to Nigeria for us to be able to grow our economy. So I want us to stand for something. Let our brand, our name be known for something. And then you see that some other opportunities that you can leverage on is going to come out. Yes, lastly, that I'm going to hammer on is our mindset. What do we see? Who are you? Yes, it starts from there. It starts from the mind. How can you tell yourself that you're going to be successful? I'm going to excel. This business idea that I'm growing is going to grow beyond, is going to go to all where you've seen your dream going to. And then be consistent. Be consistent and keep giving valuable ideas. And trust me, you're going to excel in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You see, that is how you know someone who is doing it. She didn't need paper. She didn't read book. She's doing it. So she's telling you out of experience. But anyone wants to give me a summary of what the three speakers have talked about today?
My name is Mary Ajado from Kwara chapter. Okay, a short recap from Bidemi Mark Mordy's session. She talked about the concept of business of work. She talked about self-discovery, the need to be adaptable. She talked about adaptation as opening yourself to new experiences. She talked about the discovery questions she asked herself at a time. That is, what is it I need what I need this time to achieve what needs to be done, how I can outsource, how to engage the power of imagination, because there is no way you can do what you have not seen. She asked, how do I need to manifest what I see? So who can come on board to manifest what I see is also what she talked about. She talked about proper articulation, building strong relationships, how to avoid breaking relationships. She mentioned something that really resonated with me, that your relationships are currency. How do you spend them to make them achieve your goals? She talked about hope. She talked about faith. She talked about making right choices, using the currency of time, and also asked a vital question, that who can I serve with what I can do now to make more impact? And she also said something very profound, to ask ourselves questions of, do I need to expand, or do I need to narrow down to a niche to serve a tribe in multiple ways? And then she said something to cap it off. She said, no matter what I do, no matter how much change is happening around me, you should find out opportunities that exist around you and make more impact. Judge Fumi Ashaolu's recap, she talked about conduct research, approach people with similar interests, do feasibility studies, seek legal advice, because you need legal structure. She said have an accounting structure, talked about funding, try saving costs, you can try volunteers. After setup, identify your market, check out competition, areas of social enterprise you can look into, the disabled, the homeless. Okay, Anima Shaun's talk, how do we excel with all the barriers facing up? She talked about commitment, sacrifice. Under execution, she asked a vital question, how do you execute your business plan? She talked about technology leverage, brand niche, what does your business stand for? Let your brand be known for something. She talked about consistency.
Don't go yet. No, don't go yet. Where is the summit chairperson? She's collecting one of the gifts. She's collecting one. No, she must collect one of the gifts. All of them.
Wow. In fact, you are too much. You're a very good listener. I can't even boast of even saying half of the things you said. Well done. Thank you very much. In fact, that's an encouragement that people gain so many things. Well done. Please, a round of applause for her again. Let's go there. Okay, so they said we should give you all the gifts. So you don't have any competitor. Everything goes to you. Well done. So on behalf of the president, the new executives, all the members of Summit 2022 committee, we hereby present this to you. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for making us believe that you have gained so many things. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations. You see, it pays to listen. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Are you enjoying this summit? I'm really enjoying it. Really, I'm really enjoying it. On behalf of NEW, our president, Mrs. Fumilayo Arowogun, Mrs. Aderayo Anima Shaun, I really want to appreciate you. You are a beautiful woman, honestly. And what you are doing, I appreciate it. Seriously, you're telling us that we can start from a small beginning.
And from that small beginning, your company will expand to what you want it to be. Like what I caught, it's about capacity building. And in training others, you are building capacity for others to know that they can grow in their businesses. We appreciate you so much. For everyone here appreciates you. You're young, and we want the young entrepreneurs to understand that what you are doing is important. What they are going to do is going to build this country well. I wish you the very best in life. I want to appreciate you once again. The Lord bless you richly. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for listening. Thank you. Kwara State, thank you for sealing the show.
WEC is a technical working group of strong and dynamic women from various sectors of activity, willing to work together to promote the women's leadership model. Its mission is the promotion of women's entrepreneurship through initiate reflections and concrete actions on the initiation, promotion, coordination, and implementation of any reflection aimed at promoting women's entrepreneurship. Appropriate actions in terms of training, support, coaching, and organizational capacity building, and also the anchoring of women's entrepreneurship in the reflection on the state economy in terms of qualification and know-how, as well as in terms of the formal economy. That's Mrs. Fomekong's profile. ICT, are we ready?
You are listening to me. So I will try to make this speak very, very fluently and clear. I hope so, and present you Cameroon. Who is Cameroon? Because you, Nigeria, I think you know Cameroon, but not at the border we have with you. I will also give you the key economic figures of our country, seeing with you the promising areas for investment, and we are going to discuss about the advantage for Nigerian investor in Cameroon. And at the end of the document, we put for you a useful address for investor. So let me start by talking about Cameroon. Cameroon is a country large, very, if they compare it to Nigeria, it's very small, I think. 475, 62 kilometers. We have 27 people living, million habitants in Cameroon. And in this 27 million, women have 50% of women are 50% of this organization. And we have 10 regions in our country, and Yaoundé is the political capital and Douala the economic capital. We are a country which is bilingual, even though my English is very poor. I'm very sorry for that, but our country is bilingual. And we have a very qualified workforce in technical and professional fields. You get to know that Cameroon, the population is very young. You have in majority people who are at between 17 and 25. You have 57% of the potential active population, as I was telling you, approximately 14 million people. A young and dynamic and highly educated population. 80% of our population are educated. So this is something that Cameroon. This is something that Cameroon has, and which is important for the investor. Women are highly involved in the economic activities. 71% of women are workers in the informal agricultural sector. They are, a sort of motorers for the population. And our countries have a stable currency in relation to the euro, those controlling investment costs, and a significant agricultural potential. Nearly 97,000 kilometers arable land, 20% of the territory of which less than 10% is exploited. Cameroon is also opening to the sea with two ports, the port of Kribi, and which is now one of the largest ports in Central Africa. I guess the largest port in Central Africa, and the port of the old port of Douala, and this offering an easy import of materials. Cameroon also has the second largest hydroelectric potential in Africa, and 18 in the world when you compare to the other people. What are the key figure of this economy? Our countries have a primary sector with employees nearly 43% of the working population, essentially in agriculture, like cocoa, coffee, bananas, palm oil, tobacco, and many other things. And the secondary sector, that is 33% of an employee of 14% the workforce of the population. Livestock production, agri-food, swine milling, light consumer, good manufacturing, and textile. In the what we call in French the sector tertiaire, you have 52% and 42% of employees of the working population. Now, we can talk about the promising areas of investment. If you want to invest in Cameroon, what are the areas who has a sort of promise that we can promise to you? Agriculture, animal production, like cereals, maize, rice, wheat, soya beans, oleaginous, other products like plantain, cereal, production of fertilizer and phytosanitary products, poultry sector, fish farming sector, production of animal feeds. In energy is also a very, we say in French, un secteur d'avenir prometteur. With energy to develop the potential to meet industrial demand and export to our neighbor country, the sector is liberalized since 2011. So it's very important because as it has been liberalized, all the investors can come. Electricity production, hydro and others, development of renewable energy, production of material like cables, metals. Other promising areas is communication infrastructure. Our country has a lack of communication of infrastructure. Road construction, this is one of the very important promising area. Real estate investment, which city development, industries in like agri-food, building material, chemicals industry, production of basic chemical products for the agri-food industry, wood industries, production of furniture and other products. A low to ban the export of logs. The last but not the least, promising areas, the last but not the least, is tourism. There have been since the African Cup of Nations an explosion of hotel in our country, and this is a sector who is still waiting investor, so you can invest because Cameroon is like the powerful place in Central Africa. And the last is digital. So digital is one of our promising areas with a young, with a population who is in majority young. Digital is one of, for my way of seeing economy, one of the most promising areas in our country. What advantage Nigerian investors have to come in Cameroon? I was 3 weeks ago in Lagos, and the first thing I discovered is that most of Nigeria that I met don't know that Cameroon has more than 1,000 kilometers of border with Nigeria, which facilitates cross-border trade. And many people in Nigeria, in Lagos where I was, and even in other region of Nigeria, don't know that commercial proximity between our two economies, which can facilitate settlement or trade between the two countries. And so acts of integration between our country, notably the construction of the Bamenda Eco Road, makes that it's time, I think, this is time for Nigeria investors to come in Cameroon, because it's not just because we are close with these 1,000 kilometers of border, we have also this cultural proximity. Our two countries, can you imagine that when you are in the North Cameroon, you have people who eat, talk, and speak like Nigeria, people of the North Nigeria. In the west part of Cameroon, what you call egusi, we eat also egusi soup in that part of the country. So in cultural aspects, we have a very big proximity. And finally, why do you have to come in this country, you Nigeria? Not just because we are brothers, because my conviction is that we are brothers, but it's also because maybe you don't know it, the first community, the first foreign community in Cameroon is Nigeria. Not less than 4 million of Nigeria live in Cameroon. So this is time, brothers and sisters, to come and invest in Cameroon. Even though my English is not the best as I should have want, and it was my choice to express myself in English, I wanted to tell you that women in Cameroon are dynamic as Nigerian women. And my opinion is that we have interest to share, to exchange with Nigerian women, because we have so more to do together. 200 consumers in Nigeria, 200 million of consumers in Nigeria, 30 million in Cameroon, but so many things to share together, so many things to exchange. If they make a sort of benchmark of what we can share, I'm sure that it will be 1 week to enumerate. So very sorry for my English, and I make a promise last time I was in Lagos 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to improve my English, and next time will be better. Thank you for listening to me, and sorry for all this noise you are listening. I'm in my hotel. I just arrived, and it was important for me to make this communication. Thank you so much, and if you have questions, I will try to answer to it. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Anybody has a question? You have a question? Okay. Let's have your question.
Okay, I can stand here, right? Good day, everyone. My name is Fidipo Gaya from Kaduna. My question to you is this. One of the things you mentioned was integration and the fact that Nigerians have settled in Cameroon. Now, if an investor wants to come into Cameroon, for example, he's investing in the agricultural sector, he's going to have access to the rural areas. And I'd like to, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay. Now, how would you advise one who is going to work in the rural areas, knowing that even though there is integration, there's been issues of Nigerians having challenges with the gendarmes in Cameroon?
Yes, this is a very good question. I think the first thing when you want to invest in agriculture in rural areas is to make, how can I call it? To be good, to have a friendly relation with indigenous communities. It's very important when you want to invest in Cameroon in agriculture to speak with all the communities and specifically with the indigenous communities, because these people have an affective relation with the area. And many people, when they came in Cameroon, they first discuss with the government, and after having documents from government, they come and invest. If indigenous communities are not happy, you can invest. So if I have advice to give, it's first to have a very good relation and a partnership with indigenous communities. Secondly, to respect the law, because I don't know how you call it in English, we say in French, le droit foncier. The law of the law of land. It's very, very particular in Cameroon, specifically on foreign invest. So you have to respect the law to meet a lawyer before invest in rural areas in Cameroon. But you have to invest in agriculture because when you invest in Cameroon, you can sell not just in Cameroon, but you will sell to, 5 or 6 countries, which Cameroon, all those 6 and 7 countries of Central Africa, it's Cameroon who sell them all products of agriculture. I hope I've tried to.
Thank you for your patience since morning. Thank you. Thank you to all the wonderful speakers from across the continent that we have heard. I want to believe that you agree with me that it has been awesome since morning and that it has been time well spent. Do I have a witness in the house? Any witness there? Thank you. And so tomorrow is another beautiful day. It's going to be packed full. We will have the morning session. The main event tomorrow is the gala night, the gala stroke, the awards night. Please, I want us to come early in the morning. We'll try to break early in the afternoon so that we can have a brief rest before the dinner. I want us to come well decked up in our dinner wears. I don't know what colors that the summit committee said we should wear, but please just wear something beautiful with a touch of green or orange. Am I correct? Is that what you want? Okay, they said we should come in beautiful dinner wears, touch of green or orange. It could be a bracelet, it could be earrings, it could be whatever. Just come a touch of, and if you don't have a touch of it, please, the one you have, wear it and come. We just want you to come. Let's have a wonderful time together.
For this, I'm no drugs are fit to contain. Your body in a package, so you know, see, I'm falling for love. Overdose me, your love they overdose me. Now you, I want me love you, I think of follow. Overloading, I'll be overloading your bank account. Money plenty, tell me the amount.
Don't tell me love will taste like this. Got my money in my pocket like this. Bitcoin in my wallet like this. Wisdom in my knowledge like this. Follow God, I know they follow man. But you, I might have to consider. Trips to LA taking photographs. She signed by me, then it's an autograph.
Live to die another day for you, baby. Quit my Casanova ways for you, baby. The only time that you say that you hate me is when I take the last slice of pastry. Now I'm on the run. Loving you till kingdom come, but you drive me crazy. Send someone, still my billboard baby.
Man, number one, see they be. Mama, you they, I mean,